Hi there, Gary Klugiewicz with Corrections 1, here interviewing Joel Lashley, who's the lead instructor from the Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. And today we're going to be talking about a concept called social contracts. Now, what is a social contract? What exactly is that?
Well, the best way to think of it is in terms of an example. Okay, it's the way that the group has decided collectively to behave in a situation or culturally through time. For instance, you know, why is it you don't think there's a lot of violence in libraries?
Because it's not allowed.
Right, it's not allowed, and but it's not allowed at the grocery store either. But people get beat up all the time at the grocery store.
That's true. That's true.
Okay. Violence isn't allowed anywhere, but it's common in some places and rare in others.
And so, so you're saying is that there is a social contract that acceptable behavior, not rules, but acceptable behavior that, as you said before, the herd has agreed to.
Yes, and it's universally enforced from government on down. You know, the most antisocial, narcissistic person goes to church, right, on Sunday, if it's part of their family tradition. Might curse, might threaten a lot of bullying behaviors, might cheat on his taxes, cheat on his wife, you know, unscrupulous business person, or whatever the case might be, a casual drug user, who knows, might even be a thief or a criminal. Goes to church on Sunday, sit when he's told to sit, stand when he's told to stand, sing when he's told to sing, wouldn't even think of cursing, wouldn't be, you know, louder and polite.
The social contract. How has the emergency room changed?
Well, an urban emergency room has come in many senses the way that a lot of people access health care for a lot of different reasons. Insurance issues, social issues, economic issues. So in urban environments, the emergency room has become, in a sense, the free clinic of the 21st century. It's an urban free clinic that gets flooded with lots of under stress and violent people in many cases who are used to walking into a group and cursing and yelling to get their way. All urban emergency rooms are experiencing this, high levels of violence because of this. And
so you're the security department. You have to do something about it. What are you doing about it to change it?
Well, what we're doing is we're teaching those gateway behavior concepts and where to stand and how to stand so that they're safe, and how to read body language and all the above, so that when they hear some cursing, they can walk and say, you know, hi, I'm Joel, I'm a nurse here. I got to ask you please not to curse, sir. I want to help with your problem. I'm just going to ask you please not to curse.
Now, you're doing it in a non-escalatory way, a very nice way. You know, you're trying to set the stage to get compliance.
Yes.
But now, if that doesn't work, you move on.
Yes.
And you hold people accountable.
Sure. And, you know, you set the context, present the options, and beyond. You know. But
the point by doing this, again, you know, we've talked about it in the past, is that a lot of times in the past it's been very passive.
Yes.
You know, it's almost also a climate that that you're going to ignore and you're going to condone, and we found out that doesn't work.
Right, it doesn't work, and you know, it affects, you know, it could affect the quality of care. We don't like to admit it, but are we going to spend as much time with that patient if we don't feel safe? Right.
No, absolutely. Now let's translate the social contracts from the healthcare, and it translates to schools. You know, in terms of, you know, at one time, you know, schools were like the library, and now they're like a Friday night sporting event where everyone's intoxicated, swearing, and potentially violent.
Right.
That's what school has turned into. Yep. But let's translate that again to corrections. You know, the people these are people in jail, and if we don't establish the right social contract with them, then all these things are going on.
Right.
You know, and one of the things we've talked about is that, you know, the fact that in the past we have one area where it's wild and crazy, same classification of inmates in another area that's calm and collected, and if we train the officers, 2 weeks later the areas are going to change, all because of a social contract. Why don't you address that? I mean, the importance of setting the tone.
Well, yeah, you know, the behavior we model and exhibit is a behavior as the leader of the group is what we'll see from the group. And what we say is acceptable, and what's unacceptable isn't. So if we address the cursing, the low-level gateway behaviors, first of all, I'm going to ask you please not to curse. And if it doesn't curse, then we five-step them up to the consequence. It keeps them from graduating to the threatening, to the violent behavior.
And this is not only on inmate to inmate, but inmate to staff.
Yes.
I mean, this translates across the board. Is you in fact allow a wild, a more unruly area, living area, is allowed to some. It is allowed by the officer and the administration.
Yeah.
And conversely, if you don't, it's not going to be allowed.
I'd take it one step further. By the way the officers behave in that environment and the way the behavior that the administration condones, not only allows violence but can create it.
I mean, I find this fascinating because, so you're saying that, in terms of social contracts, if we have a social contract where we in fact act aggressively, we in fact use profanities and other things, we in fact make indirect threats, whether that be to be locked down, locked in, or sent to SEG. When we make overt threats, we're setting up the area to be more violent.
Absolutely. You're ensuring it that'll be more violent.
And conversely, if we bring that all down, everyone is going to be safer.
Yes.
And it's just because how we run the pod, how we run the living area, it's going to change.
Yes.
And so the gateway behaviors, the point of matter is that if we don't model what we don't want them to perform, they're less likely to perform it.
Yeah. Some people might associate that with weakness. Like we want a jail full of run by kind of nerdy, kind of peaceful guys. Not necessarily saying that, because that's not going to work for you either. But assertive, confident, respectful staff will ensure that you have a peaceful environment, that they're modeling the behavior that they want to see. What you see is what you're going to get.
And so whether you're out dealing with an emergency room, a school, a correctional facility, you're dealing with the idea that there's social contracts that you help to enforce or destroy.
Yeah, and consistency is the key. Inconsistency will kill you. If you have one shift that comes on and they're managing all these behaviors, and the next guy comes on, and he's cursing and he's threatening, then the inconsistency is in any environment is what kills you.
So what we're saying, I think in conclusion, we're talking about is that if we set the proper social contract by our behavior, how we act, and what we require and hold people accountable to a standard, not only them, the inmates, but us, the officers, will have a much calmer, safer jail environment.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Joel. I think it is a very helpful understanding about social contracts and how it impacts us in terms of keeping our jails as safe as possible.